Thanks for staying with Newsnight. The ANC has released the first version of its national list of public representatives. The names will now be vetted before being submitted to the National List Conference in early January. However, the Western Cape and the Northwest are yet to hold their conferences. And according to some reports, former President Jacob Zuma appears on the list of members nominated for Parliament after next year's elections. Well, for more on this story, I'm joined by Dakota Legwete. He's the party's acting national spokesperson. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Let's talk about this list. Of course, when we say it's a preliminary list right now, and when it's released to the branches.
That's correct.
And not necessarily to the public. But are you able to indulge us on what names appear on that list, perhaps the top 5?
Look, the list is published. It has been published by the Secretary General, who is the chairperson of the National List Committee, after it considered the list nominations from branches from across the whole country, branches of the African National Congress. So, as it is the case now, the list is being published in line with our guidelines for provinces, for regions, for branches, even yourselves as the media and the public can comment on the list. And once we have commented on the list is going to be taken for vetting to check that all the potential nominees do qualify and comply with our Electoral Act and its provisions. For instance, the Act says you must not have a criminal record or not been found guilty in the last 12 months without an option of a fine. Mm-hmm. It says you must not have been deemed unfit by any mental institutions. All those provisions are there. We need to ensure that we vet and screen all members who are nominated for that particular process. Mm-hmm. Then the list as you see it now, it's a raw list. Our branches, they've nominated leaders according to the way they know them, including full-time functionaries of the party, like the Secretary General, the Deputy Secretary General, the Treasurer General are nominated. And according to the constitution of the ANC, those are full-time positions of the party. Mm-hmm. So, but it's for the National List Conference and the National Executive Committee.
So, but in terms of the names of who's on the top list, I haven't had the opportunity of seeing the list myself. So, in terms of who's on the top 6 of the list?
Who's on the top 6 of the list is the top 6 of the ANC.
Okay.
It's President Cyril Ramaphosa, followed by Deputy President Didi Mabuza, followed by the National Chairperson Gwede Mantashe, followed on the 4th position by Ace Magashule, on the 5th position by Jesse Duarte, on the 6th position by Comrade Paul Mashatile. That's how is the outlook of the list. That's how branches of the ANC, consistent with our 54th National Conference resolution of unity, renewal, they still want it, even pursue it in our branches of the ANC.
All right. Then let's talk about the nomination. I believe is number 74 on the list, former President Jacob Zuma. And, of course, that's been part of what most people have been talking about today, his name resurfacing and ANC members wanting to see him re-elected to Parliament. Is that a surprise for you as the ANC?
Look, it's not a surprise. It happens to any leader of the ANC. You see, branches of the ANC... as part of exercising their democracy, they are free to can nominate any name of a member of the ANC in good standing. Because even our constitution is clear in terms of Rule 4 that any member is eligible to stand and be voted. And it's the same with President Jacob Zuma. But in the case of President Jacob Zuma, I think there's still other stages which are coming. From the national, from where we are now, it's vetting, it's screening, it's comment from branches. From there, we take it to the National List Conference, which will be on the 4th and the 5th of January. And once the National List Conference will then reorder the list in line with the guidelines of the ANC. For instance, one of the guidelines, it says, our list must have 50-50 representation of women. Our list must have 55% of continuity of lawmakers, which means any former serving MP, MPL, or a councillor. Our list must at least have not less than 20% of young people on the list. So those particular guidelines and ordering, it's going to be done by the National List Conference on the 4th and the 5th. After that, the National Executive Committee will then ratify and adopt the final list.
How much about the names that are on the list, or that make it at least, to the top 100 of the list, how much of those names does it speak to the amount of support that an individual has within the ANC?
Yeah, look, as it is now, all the nominations are raw. This list is being made according to nomination from branches. It has not been reordered to comply with the guidelines.
Yes, but raw as it is, as the ANC, when you look at those names, what does it tell you about the kind of support that the people who are making it on that list enjoy within the branches of the party?
Look, it's clear that branches of the party have exercised their democratic rights. 25% of the total list of the ANC, it's a threshold that we say it's safe. We will not touch it. It will be the will of the branches of the ANC. And for instance, in this case, the ordering and the other processes starts immediately after 25%. So the will of the branches of the ANC, for now, it's respected up to 25% once ratified and adopted by the National List Conference. So other processes which will follow after that, it's a process which says that particular list, after being adopted by the National List Conference, it will then be tabled before the National Executive Committee for consideration. After that, the final vetting, screening, and everything will be done to ensure that our list is credible, it has reputable characters, it has ethical leaders who can ensure that we deliver on our mandate as enshrined in our manifesto, in all our policy documents.
In terms of the Western Cape and the Northwest, who are yet to hold their conferences, what are the provisions that you've made there?
Look, let me start with Northwest. The Northwest province could not hold its list conference. It was disrupted. There were allegations of fiddling with the process. There were allegations of manipulation in other instances. The National List Committee of Appeals said to consider all those appeals, those objections and grievances that were raised. So far, it has concluded its business. What we are waiting is for the Secretary General to sign the final audit verification report, which is going to allow, like we have concluded through the National List Committee, the Northwest province to sit on the 27th, next week, Thursday. Then in the case of Western Cape held its provincial list conference, but appeals were raised that the conduct which was there was not in tandem with the list guidelines of the African National Congress. And that was the finding of the National Committee of Appeals and the National List Committee. And it has been ordered the Western Cape to rerun the provincial list conference to ensure that we comply with our guidelines. Because we are the only party that goes through this particular exercise of ensuring that our members and the public can put us in scrutiny to ensure that at least democracy prevails. Other parties, I'm not sure you know even about their list.
All right. Before we go, we wrap this interview up, I want to ask you about the time off that you've given to your head of elections. This is after the publishing of that report by the Public Protector.
Look, there's no time off. There's no decision of time off of the head of elections. The head of elections, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, is on duty. As we are on holiday now, the Tumamina campaign will proceed. We're expecting to visit all our people throughout the country. We're expecting to visit tourists in beaches throughout the country. And Comrade Mbalula, as the head of elections, will be leading us in that particular campaign.
So are the reports quoting you saying that he has been given time off, are those incorrect?
Those are incorrect, because what I said in that particular radio interview was that Comrade Mbalula reserves his rights to take this particular report through a judicial review, and we will allow him to consult legally and get proper advices as an individual, because this particular matter, by and large, affects him as a person.
So he remains on the job?
He remains on the job.
No suspension, no time off?
No time off, nothing. Mbalula is on duty as we are talking now.
And do you think that that's the best decision for the party right now, given the seriousness of the allegations?
Look, that's the best for the party for giving now, because you must understand, we can't act without considerations. And that's why as the African National Congress, we have said we are going to go through the report, to read it and interrogate it. And once we have satisfied ourselves, to check its implications for the party about Comrade Mbalula. So far, we have not finalized that process. There is no administrative action or decision that we can make for now, except to allow him to proceed with his job. We have confidence in his leadership capabilities and that he will deliver the mandate of the ANC and will win with a landslide victory come 2019.
Right.
We'll reclaim our position as a governing party.
Right.
We have no doubt. We humble ourselves before all South Africans. We are definite with their support and hard work, we are going to make it.
All right, let's leave it there for tonight. Dakota Legwete, he's the ANC acting national spokesperson.